Welcome in everybody to another edition of BC Buckets versus Series. And today, Colin, we're going to be looking at Walker Kessler of Auburn against Mark Williams of Duke. Two similar players, two players of a similar build. I mean, in the similar range of most draft boards and mock drafts. Both physical monsters in different ways. I have I have Walker Kessler. You have Mark Williams. I
Yes.
know how you feel about Walker Kessler, so I would never do that to you. But I have Walker Kessler. You have Mark Williams. And do you want to start? Or do you want me to start with
Uh,
Walker Kessler?
I'll start with Mark Williams. So I have Mark Williams over Walker Kessler. I think Mark Williams is like a Hassan Whiteside, Andre Drummond type player, but actually cares about playing. He has a motor, right? Like he has a great second jump. He has finishing ability. He runs the floor. All things that you could argue both Hassan Whiteside and Andre Drummond do. It's just that you always question their motor whenever you see them play. You know, whether they, whatever. Whereas Mark Williams accepted his role on Duke. He had so many players around him. I mean, Banchero's on that team, and he kind of took, almost third, fourth fiddle on that team, but he still had the production to go along with it. 11 points per game, 7 rebounds, 2.8 blocks. And I think and that's all in I think 24 minutes. So those are all reasons why I think he's going to be a great center in the NBA. Just to go on to I guess because we're going to compare defense with these guys.
Yeah.
Considering that, I think that Mark Williams projects better just because he has that 7'7" wingspan. He has that motor. It leads to defensive rebounds, making insane catches, going up for lobs that he shouldn't even be able to catch. His footwork on the offensive end, I think, will also do him well. He likes to go to that spin. And he only averaged 3.4 fouls per 40 minutes. That's big for a guy like him, right? Whereas an Andre Drummond or Hassan Whiteside, they get in foul trouble. So I think that off the bat's awesome. He's a great roll man in pick and roll. He knows when to cut from the dunker spot. And I think just his athleticism alone, when we can get into more in this later, I think that's the reason why I have him over Walker Kessler alone, just because he is so athletic. He is so explosive on that end.
Well, you mentioned a 7'7" wingspan. I will give that to him. Walker Kessler only has a 7'5" wingspan,
Yeah,
so
not good enough.
not sure how he'll manage.
Yeah.
After doing what he did to the SEC last year. I mean, anybody who watched Auburn play last year was like, dang, who's that 7'1" dude just standing in the middle blocking 5 shots a game? Walker Kessler was an absolute force, the best defensive player in the country. He dominated one of the toughest conferences in the country defensively. And I think that all projects really well. I think we see what Jared Allen does on a consistent basis. We see what Rudy Gobert does on a consistent basis on the defense side of the ball. And I think with those two in mind, I think there's a clear and obvious role for Walker Kessler to walk into the league and be a impact defensive player. Like they're to say that Walker Kessler's floor is high, I think, or his floor is at least, rotational big level, I think might be underselling him. I think he can really step in and be a guy who can play 10 to 15 minutes a game as a rookie just because he can sit here and block shots. And while he did foul a bit more than I think you want him to, I think that a lot of that's just because it was so easy for him to block shots. He was like, I'm just going to try to block every shot. And he most of the time did. But at the NBA, he'll have to be a little bit more disciplined. I think defensively, he's too good. He's too tall. He's too long. He has too much experience. I mean, it's not like he was going against nobodies. I mean, he's going up against guys like Tari Eason, who we've done a video on. He's going up against great players in the SEC, and it didn't matter. He just blocked everyone's shot. So I think that's just the biggest difference. And he's just a really, really smart player as well. I want to give him credit there. And then if we look at the offense side of the ball, I think he has room to grow, but I think he's shown that he has decent touch. He can score on the inside a bit. And I mean, if nothing else, just throw up the ball and his short 7'5" arms will somehow reach up and dunk it. But yeah, that's Walker Kessler in a nutshell.
So all the things Mark Williams does, except with no offense. Is that what you're
Except
saying?
he's a much better shot blocker.
Right.
Which is crazy because
I
Mark
agree.
Williams is a
No,
great
yeah,
shot blocker.
yeah, yeah.
Walker Kessler was one of the best shot blockers that college
Ever.
basketball has ever seen at
Ever,
this
yeah.
point.
I think I have it in here somewhere. It was like a 19.5% block rate or something stupid high. It was like 18, something. It was crazy. I was like, oh god. Yeah. So the reason why I don't take Walker is because he's a guy that isn't very mobile, right? You get the 7'1", kind of. He's not lanky, but he's not quick. He's not super athletic. He's not
Yeah.
explosive. That's just not what he is, right? He's not that player. I think that's going to be an issue. He's not going to be able to be switch. He's not going to be able to use his length against faster guys in the NBA, and I think that's going to be an issue. Whereas before, he could kind of make up for that with his long arms and with him being patient and waiting for a player to, think that he's by him and then get the block. I also think shooting is an issue. 21.3% from three. Obviously, he's not going to be taking a lot of them, but it's a thing that
Well,
people are
let me
trying.
stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. All right. Because we're comparing Mark Williams to Walker Kessler. And
Yeah,
I think to me, when comparing those two, Walker Kessler's ability to shoot the ball
disagree.
is a clear strength over Mark Williams.
Disagree. I think Mark Williams will in year 3 be able to get those looks at three. He shoots 75% from the line. Walker Kessler shoots 57% from the line.
What did Mark Williams shoot from three?
He didn't take a three.
Well, then what are we doing
I think
here?
the shooting upside. I was just saying shooting upside. It's an issue
Walk.
because let me continue.
Go ahead.
Because this affects his ability to score, right? He has no post game. Walker doesn't have a single move in the bag. He's going to be a roll man. He's going to be looking for putbacks, which he can do, obviously. Like you said, he can throw it up to his arms and just kind of hope that he can get it in the basket. But for guys that he's not more physical than, or guys that he's not taller than, it's not going to be like college where you can just kind of grab it and reach over and put it in. I don't think that's a thing you can expect to be good offensive output. We've already saw it in the playoffs this year. If you're comparing him to Rudy Gobert, which obviously is a very good player, you don't want him to have the ball in closing seconds and just kind of flail around with it for a second and then not do anything with it. I think I think we both agree. He can step in right away, and it's almost underselling him having his floor set at like a rotational center because he's just too good of a defender for that. It's the offensive end where I have the issues, and what is it to take that next step as a player? I think that Mark Williams is able to take that next step and make a huge impact on the offensive end and defensive end. Whereas I think Walker Kessler can be, an all defensive, whatever. You won't call him defensive player of the year eventually, sure, whatever. But I don't see how that makes a team shy away from the fact that is he Rudy Gobert at the end. And that's not I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? Like Rudy Gobert is obviously a really good player, defensive player of the year, however many times. The issue is what does it hurt you? How does it hurt you on the offensive end? And I think it hurts them a lot.
I feel like Rudy Gobert is obviously a comparison, right? Sure. Jared Allen, I think, is a comparison.
I have Jared Allen as a comparison as
We
well.
haven't seen Jared Allen in high leverage playoff games the way we've seen Rudy Gobert obviously get exposed to a degree. As a Spurs fan, I've seen some Jakob Poeltl in there. I would love to see Walker Kessler round out his game as far as like a floater touch shots, touch around the rim that Jakob Poeltl has. But I think Walker Kessler could also be a lot better lob threat than a lot of those guys. Now, when comparing Walker Kessler to Mark Williams, I think we just have a fundamental disagreement on the upside as I don't want to say as far as perimeter players go, but just overall feel for the game when they catch the ball from 17, 18 feet from the basket. Walker Kessler, while he's not a great passer, I think he's a better passer than Mark Williams. I think that he is going to be and already has shown the potential to shoot threes and make threes, even if it was only 21%. I think you still have to acknowledge that the form, well, it's not perfect. It's there. And I think that it has the upside and has the potential to round out his game. Because if this man can shoot threes, even at a 34% clip, he's going to be a starter in this league for a long time. And that's very different. And Rudy Gobert, for everything that we give him, he's a great defender. And I'm not going to say Walker Kessler is going to win 3 Defensive Players of the Year.
Right.
If Walker Kessler can shoot the basketball, that changes things. It changes things completely. And I think that Walker Kessler with a jump shot is better than Mark Williams. Like if Mark Williams hits the ceiling, because unless if you're saying Mark Williams is going to be able to shoot threes.
I would say he doesn't need to shoot threes, but I think he can.
That's going to be the interesting to me. I honestly think this comes
I
down to which player is going to be better from 15 plus feet on offense, because the defenses are very,
yeah,
very good both ways.
yeah,
Yeah, like okay, let's say Walker Kessler a little better offensively, Mark Williams a little better, or I'm sorry, flip that. Walker Kessler a little better
yeah. Flip it the
defensively,
other way.
Mark Williams a little bit better offensively inside, round out the game. If Walker Kessler can shoot the ball at a decent clip, give me Walker Kessler every day, every single day, and I think he will.
I disagree.
Okay.
I just don't. It's hard to bank it on something where you hope he's able to shoot better from three.
Who has a higher floor? I'm having a tough time deciding that myself.
It's tough, right? Because how are you going to go over a guy that had one of the best shot blocking seasons in college history? I think the floor of Mark Williams is lower. And I only say that because it relies on him continuing to keep. I mean, obviously he has a motor, but his whole game relies on him continuing to be physical. Whereas Walker Kessler doesn't need that, right? He's able. He can position himself. Obviously, Mark Williams can do the same thing. But if we're talking about offense, which is obviously what my knock on Walker is, he's got to continue to get those putbacks, just keep jumping like he does, get those offensive rebounds, run the floor. Whereas Walker Kessler, like you said, if he just has to develop the three, and he's already can step in and be, whatever you want to see, your second big man off the bench, I don't necessarily think that Mark Williams can do that right away. He can be a good center off the bench right away, but I don't think he can be your second center off the bench right away.
It'll be interesting. We've seen players like Mitchell Robinson. We've seen right now we're watching Robert Williams in the finals. There's just
I like that comp actually. I didn't have that down, but that's good comp for Mark
I'm
Williams.
looking at I'm on B-ball reference. I just have a list of the teams up right now. I'm thinking off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Because like Jaren Jackson Jr., great defensive player this year, was able to shoot threes in his whole career. It's like there's just so many different ways this could go, right? They both do they turn into Robert Williams? Do they turn into Mitchell Robertson? Do they turn into Jaren Jackson? Do they turn into, you go down a list of these players. I feel like there's multiple ways this could go in today's NBA where they're not going to be Bam Adebayo. They're not going to be switching, but how are they going to get on the court here? Is it going to be Rudy Gobert, Jared Allen? Like I'm just going down naming centers here. And I'm not sure exactly how this pans out. I'm interested. So I don't know if we've came to a decision.
I don't think we have. This might be the closest one. This might be the closest one between us.
This one's tough for me because they are so similar in a lot of ways. But I'm going to stick by, for the sake of this video, I'm going to stick by Walker Kessler having a higher upside and being a better NBA prospect here.
Okay. Well, I'll stick it with Mark Williams then. There you go. Boom.
There you go. We have come to our decision.
Yeah, our decision remains the same.
Respect my decision after this 15 minutes of discussion. But if nothing else, I feel like this was a great discussion on the two players to figure out kind of what they are, what they can be. So we'll end it there. We hope y'all enjoyed the video. Send it to a friend. Check out our other videos if you haven't already. Subscribe, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. For Colin Mitchell, I'm Matthew Brune. We appreciate y'all for joining us, and we'll talk to y'all later.